Before we delve into today's interview, please go to thesocialblueprint.org.au to see all the upcoming events in our community and to check out all the resources our community has to offer. So today, Blueprinters, I would like to introduce to you Zoe Finger. Zoe is a Chinese medicine practitioner and we welcome her here today. So I hope you enjoy this interview. Hi Zoe.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome.
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. We were talking before the interview. If you can just share with us, how did your parents meet? Because it's an interesting little story.
Yes, so it's a very cute story. My parents are both British but grew up in different parts of London. So they didn't know each other in England, but they were both living in Hong Kong, doing different jobs, and they went to Chabad for Rosh Hashanah dinner. And they met at Rosh Hashanah dinner, and I think my dad had to pursue my mum for a little while. But he locked her down and they started dating after that.
So your parents met in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Did they stay in Hong Kong?
So they actually left a few months after they got married. They moved to the Philippines while my mum was pregnant with my sister. And my sister and my parents were there for about 8 years and I was there for 6.
So you were born in the Philippines as well?
Yes, I was.
And did they go from Hong Kong to the Philippines, or did they get married? Did they get married in Hong Kong?
Yes, they were married while living in Hong Kong, but given they were British, the wedding was in London, the Jewish wedding at least. They had a bit of a party in New York for the civil with their friends, and then moved to the Philippines before my sister was born.
Okay, so they were there for a few years because you were born there.
Yes.
And then where to from there?
So when I was 6, we moved to Australia.
Why?
I think a few reasons. My dad was changing work, which was the first reason that brought them there. Also, it was a very small Jewish community and a third world country, so the opportunities weren't as large as they could be elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think my parents wanted us to grow up with a Jewish community and that feeling around us. And I grew up in a Shomrei Shabbat house in a modern Orthodox family, so they wanted a bit more of that environment around us.
And your parents now?
My parents now live in Israel. They made Aliyah in 2021. So they're everywhere. People of the world, I say.
And your attitude, where do you think you're going to end up?
I get asked this question a lot, given where they are. And my answer is always, I don't know. I think you can't really plan ahead. And given the life that I've watched my parents live, traveling the world, living all over the world, and now in Israel, I feel my options are endless. And maybe I'll one day want to be right next door to them and never leave. So I don't know. The world's my oyster is kind of the way I see it right now.
It's lovely. You engage in Chabad dinners out of curiosity?
I do every so often. I was just traveling and I went to Chabad in Barcelona when I was by myself for Shabbat. I think it's always, if you're a bit stressed and don't know where to go, you've always got Chabad there, and it's always been a part of my life because of my parents. So it's a good option.
That's lovely. Yeah. All right, we've got you here today to talk about your journey. You went to school where?
I went to Yavna first, and then I moved to Scopus and graduated from Mount Scopus.
Right, and what did you do after that?
After that, I went to IBC for the year. I took a gap year, and then I started studying at Deakin University in a Biomedical Science degree, but made a bit of a pivot. I took my second semester off just because I wasn't really feeling like it was the right type of science for me, and I wasn't too happy in what I was doing. So I took time off to figure out what was next. And I started studying at Torrens University a Naturopathy degree. And after trimester 1, I changed to a Chinese medicine degree.
At Torrens?
At Torrens.
And out of curiosity, is Torrens online or is that in person?
So it was originally Southern School of Natural Therapies, which is a uni based in Fitzroy.
Yes.
But it was bought in a few years ago while I was studying. It was bought by Torrens University, which is based in the city, right by Fed Square. So it was always in person, and then COVID happened and it was a bit of a hybrid situation.
Okay, now I understand. I've seen it there.
Yes.
And Chinese medicine, how was that? So it sounds like you tried different areas of science until you found one that resonated with you. How did you do that? Like, what were you thinking?
So Chinese medicine's always been a big part of my life. Because my parents lived in Hong Kong, it was always a part of their life because it's the norm there.
Yes.
So my mum always was seeing a Chinese medicine practitioner, and when I was younger, about 13 years old, I was missing school once a month when I was getting my period due to really bad pain. So my mum took me to her practitioner here, and I've barely left the clinic since. I've been there almost fortnightly since I started. And I basically wanted to keep all my options open at uni. So I started in biomedical science because medicine was always something I enjoyed as well. And then I realized pretty quickly that I'm not really interested in physics, and the type of science it wasn't a kind of anatomy physiology, which is what I'm really passionate about, and I love learning how the body works. So just when it didn't feel right, my parents said, take a semester off, see how you feel. And at that point I realized that I'm very passionate about Chinese medicine and alternative medicine and what that can offer people, because it's played such a huge impact in my life. So it kind of just felt like a natural progression. But I'm also very interested in nutrition and nutritional medicine, which isn't really a component at a big level. So I started in naturopathy, which is nutritional medicine and Western herbal medicine. But I felt that I needed something hands-on, something that I could do for a patient as well as give them herbs and advice, and that's acupuncture. So I changed over to Chinese medicine.
And are you working in Chinese medicine at the moment?
I am. I'm a practitioner at Gardenvale Chinese Medicine, which is on Hawthorne Road in South Caulfield.
And are you specialising in something there?
Yeah, so I focus primarily in women's health and hormonal imbalance, and playing into that is metabolism and metabolic health. That's kind of my big interest. I also do cosmetic acupuncture in the clinic. I see everything that comes by, but that's where I'm zoned in on right now.
So it's female oriented.
Yes, female health oriented.
And so I'm assuming that you must have had success with your Chinese medicine assistants. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah,
Thanks.
so I was quite young, obviously, when I started going, and I was missing school regularly, and my teacher, used to know once a month when I was on my period because I wasn't myself. He told my mum at parent teacher that once a month I'm not myself in class, I'm quiet, I'm down, I'm clearly not focused. So that's why I started going, and my pain was basically taken away by my practitioner. And then it kind of just stayed for everything that came with life, whether it was hay fever, energy, digestive issues, everything under the sun. But the pain and the period stuff is kind of what got me into it. And now whenever anything hormonal imbalance I feel is coming up, it's my go-to, and it always steers me back on track.
And there are two questions I actually have. One, you said that you go fortnightly to your Chinese med. Can you explain that? Because I think people listening might say, oh, it can't be working if you're going every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that, please?
So if you're coming for a specific reason, obviously that's the focus of the treatment. So if it's for musculoskeletal pain, for example, you're probably coming at least once a week, if not twice a week, if it's really acute, for a period of time until your pain's completely relieved and it doesn't just come back once you stop treatment. But Chinese medicine, in essence, is a preventative medicine. It's about achieving the best balance and best health that you can have. We don't claim to cure any disease or anything. So basically whatever came up for me, whether it was hay fever, gut health, menstrual health, that was my default.
Yes.
And because it's a natural kind of all-round medicine, I just kept going. So you can kind of come just for overall well-being and maintenance, and if you do that, you have the best chance, we say. But it's also it's variable, which I think a lot of people don't know. It's not just pain or just fertility that we can help with. It's medicine, so whatever you need, it can be there for, and that's how it's kind of played in my life the whole time.
Yes, I think getting the message across about maintenance is important, because in Western we're so used to only going to a doctor when we're sick, whereas it's more about preventative.
Exactly. I think often we normalize pain and symptoms that we experience because we can't find answers through tests, or we just don't know what's going on, and it becomes easier to just think, oh, that pain in my neck is normal, or that period cramp that I get, I've always had it, so it must be normal. But our quality of life should be better. And there's many factors that can influence that, which is just life. So having tools to kind of support you through life, that's a nice way Chinese medicine can play as a regular component for everybody.
I love it when anyone has such conviction after having an experience that they want to pursue it in their lives. So I think that's testament to the fact you truly believe it works.
I do.
Now, cosmetic Did you say cosmetic
Yes, I
acupuncture?
did. Yeah.
Can you explain that to us, please?
So it's kind of as it sounds. So it's acupuncture for more of a cosmetic purpose. So it's mostly facial acupuncture for any reason under the sun that you might seek another cosmetic treatment. So wrinkles, sagging, pigmentation, scarring. These are all things that people come for, whether it's acne or just general scarring. So basically you get a full body treatment because what's on the outside reflects what's happening inside. So it's a internal sort of treatment to get your body to optimal health, so your skin's optimal. But we also do facial cupping. We essentially just slide cups across the face, and facial gua sha, which is more of just a blood flow lymphatic massage. And then we do acupuncture to promote collagen regeneration and just support blood flow through the face.
So are you telling me that people actually walk around with cupping on their face?
So normally, the way you normally see those Olympic swimmers with cupping marks all on their back, I make sure to not bruise. I try my best not to bruise people. We have many things in place, arnica and bruising gels, to make sure that we don't let people walk around the streets looking bruised. But no, we stop before any of that bruising comes up with on the face. Don't worry.
All right, and where else do you want to take? What's your next step in life with this medicine?
So I think my goal in what I do is just to kind of empower, I guess, females more so in what I'm doing, which is women's health and female health. I think that the medical world hasn't allowed that much space and room for female voices to be heard and understood. Females were only included in medical research starting when they became law in the early 1900s, which isn't very long ago. So I essentially just want to empower and educate. What I do is a holistic medicine. So there's the physical of what we do, which is acupuncture and herbs, but we take into account emotions, diet, lifestyle, everything else that goes on, as well as disease internally. And I think that if you can kind of take control in those other factors, then it gives you the best chance to live your best life. So I'm currently doing a few other courses to try and further my knowledge as well. So I'm doing a fertility course specifically to do with Chinese medicine, and I'm also doing an environmental and nutritional medicine course to learn more about kind of the macronutrient side and the science side, so I can give people realistic, sustainable tools that they can implement in life and don't become this big thing that's trying to make more chaos in their minds than life already is causing, just to kind of empower and allow people control and space to be heard and seen, I guess.
So before we wrap up, what are some tips? Are you able to impart some tips for any women watching today or their partners to encourage them?
So kind of my go-to, I guess, habits or tips. These are a few that are on top of my brain because I made a little reel about this the other day. But one thing that I always do because of Chinese medicine is I will never be barefoot on the floor. So if I'm not wearing shoes, I'm wearing slippers at home always. The kidney channel in Chinese medicine begins at the bottom of the foot and it runs up the legs and through the abdomen. So any cold that comes through the base of your foot can basically travel up the body, which can, what we say, impact period pain and allow cold into your body, and cold constricts. So blood can flow not as quickly and smoothly and everything's a bit tighter. So it's one small thing that isn't very hard. So I do that.
In summer too?
In summer too.
Okay.
I have different slippers for the different seasons because I need a bit more warmth in the winter.
Okay.
That's one thing. I guess that's the four pillars of health, which is my go-to for everybody, which is everyone's go-to and you hear it all the time, but sleep, stress, diet, and exercise are the 4 areas of life that can impact your overall health. So getting enough sleep, reading before sleep, not being on your phone is something that I do. I try to practice what I preach. So my screens are off by 8 p.m. every night. I wind down, I get into bed, and I read until I go to bed quite early as well. But I read until about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I go to sleep. I move my body at least once a day. It doesn't have to be something crazy, whether it's just walking my dog up and down the street so she can make a pee, something to move the body, eating what feels good with protein in every snack and every meal, because that's what fills us up. Bone broth is something I recommend to everybody to get that iron in, the protein in. Tastes like chicken soup, so can't go wrong. And then stress management, having tools that help you kind of make time for you, because it's harder to do than we think.
Much
I
harder.
could go on forever if you can't tell.
That's wonderful. All right, well, thank you so much for coming to the Social Blueprint
Thank
and
you for having
imparting
me.
your wonderful knowledge on us.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please share this link to see this video and others, and go to thesocialblueprint.org.au to find community events, resources, and message board items and more.